I will start there. Okay. So like she mentioned, I work with Just Harvest. We are a nonprofit in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we aim to alleviate food insecurity in our communities by advocacy, grassroots organization, and direct services to clients. So this has been a pretty big year for us. We've always had a tax program, but this year there were a lot of tax credit expansions because of some of the pandemic relief bills that were passed. So we have spent a lot of time trying to do outreach and education about the child tax credit specifically and getting people connected with that. So you may have heard some of this already. I know it's been out for a few months now, but I'll go over the details of what has changed about the child tax credit. We'll talk about some of the complications that have come up in getting families those advance payments and some of the ways that we can make sure that families receive these payments as well. So there are a lot of differences this year about the child tax credit. It's not a new credit. It's been on your return for the past several years. But the American Rescue Plan Act that was passed in March has greatly expanded who is eligible for it, and it's expanded some of the amounts as well. So to start with, the amount has increased previously to this year. Taxpayers could only get up to $2,000 for each child. This year, they can get up to $3,600 per child 0 to 5, and up to $3,000 for children between children 6 to 17 years old. So that's a pretty significant increase. And then I'm sure you've all noticed half of this credit is going to be issued as advanced monthly payments. So these started in July. The first one went out on July 15th. They're going to happen monthly until December 15th of this year. The monthly payments will be up to $300 per child under age 6 and up to $250 for children 6 to 17. They're basing these advance payments on the taxpayer's 2020 return or 2019 if they didn't file for 2020. But the other half of the credit will be issued on their 2021 tax return. So anyone, regardless of their income, if they are eligible for this CTC credit, they will need to file a tax return next year to claim the other half. And the credit is also fully refundable this year. Prior to this, the CTC could be used to decrease a taxpayer's tax liability, which means that you would have had to have some earned income that was taxable. This disqualified a lot of lower income families or families that just receive Social Security or something like SSDI. That's not taxable income. So even if they had children, that meant that they were not eligible for this credit. But now that the credit is fully refundable, it only adds to your refund. It doesn't only take away your tax liability. And this kind of goes hand in hand with that. There is no minimum income requirement. So a taxpayer does not have to have earned income this year to qualify for CTC, as long as they have dependents that qualify. They've also raised the age limit for qualifying children. Prior to this, it was 17, or it was under 17. This year, it is under 18, so they raised it by 1 year. And they go by the age of the child on December 31st of 2021. And then the IRS is offering an online non-filers form to enroll in the advance payments. And you can also use that portal to update, you can use their child tax credit portal to update information if something like your bank account information changed or your income or family size or address. You can use this portal to update that information. The non-filers form is going to be really important for those people who have lower incomes and were not required to file their taxes for the past few years. So this is covered a little bit in those past couple slides as well, but the eligibility requirements have changed a little. Like I said, there's no minimum income requirement. Individuals with higher incomes, the phase-out limit was raised this year as well. So for single filers, it would be $75,000. For heads of household, the phase out starts at $112,500, and for married filing jointly, it's $150,000. The upper limits, it phases out gradually at these limits, and then the maximum income that you can have is $200,000 for heads of household and single filers, and $400,000 if you are married filing jointly. So anything under those income limits, you will receive partial child tax credit payments. The taxpayer and spouse have to have a Social Security number or an ITIN. So this is especially important for maybe immigrant families or refugees. It's important to have this SSN or ITIN by April 15th of 2022 if they want to claim this credit for this year. And obviously, you can't get the child tax credit if you don't have a qualifying child. So there are some rules about who a qualifying child is for a family. It can be your child, grandchild, stepchild, or adopted child, be a step sibling, half sibling, or a descendant, or a foster child placed with you by a government agency. This is important whenever you talk to a family who maybe they're taking care of their neighbor's kid because of some extenuating circumstances. If they don't have this relationship with that child, they cannot claim them for a CTC. The child must be 17 years old or younger on 12/31 of this year. They have to live with the taxpayer for more than 6 months of 2021. The child cannot provide over half of their own support. And the child must have a Social Security number. So even if the taxpayer and spouse have a Social Security number or an ITIN, the qualifying child has to have a Social Security number. I just saw a thing in the chat. Can everybody hear me okay? Am I still in and out right now?
I'm hearing you just fine.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you guys. Just wanted to make sure. So once you determine if a family is eligible for CTC, how are they going to receive these advance payments? For families that filed a 2019 or 2020 return, the payments should have started automatically in July. They shouldn't have had to do anything to receive them. Obviously, some families, there were some complications with this. If your bank account information changed or maybe your address changed since then, you may have to go into the update portal to update your information. I'm going to, just to make sure everyone can hear me, I'm going to try turning my camera off. Maybe that will help with the audio too. So if you had earned income in 2019 or 2020, but you still haven't filed a tax return, technically the filing season ends tomorrow. So we're kind of reaching the end of the season here. Most options to file for free are not available after tomorrow. You might be able to pay somebody to prepare it, but then you would have to determine if it's worth it for you to have a pay preparer for these advance payments. Maybe it's better to wait until next season. If you did not have earned income in 2020 and haven't been required to file, the non-filers form is available until November 15th. So you have an extra month there to get your information to the IRS. There is free virtual help available at getctc.org/justharvest. People can go to this website. They answer a few questions about their family and their personal information. And then someone online actually completes the form for them and communicates by phone and email to get that finished for them. And then if you have parents or caregivers who have or who need an ITIN, the ITIN application process can take a little bit of time. Sometimes it takes 4 to 6 weeks. With the IRS, you always kind of want to give a little extra time just in case they're behind. And since they need to have this ITIN in time for the end of next filing season, April 15th, 2022, it is a good idea for them to start their ITIN application as early as they can. So to get an ITIN, you need to file a Form W-7 and a 2020 tax return. Some families that need an I-10, that means that they maybe immigrated here and they're probably getting paid in cash. This might influence their decision to file because maybe they're afraid to file, or maybe they end up owing money because they're technically self-employed if you're getting cash income. So that's a conversation to have with people who want the child tax credit payments but need an I-10. They would have to weigh their options there. And if they would try to file for an I-10 right now, they probably wouldn't get the advance payments. But next year when they file their 2021 tax return, they can claim all of the payments that they missed. So for families who are eligible for the CTC advance payments, you can use the portal to update your information. You can check your eligibility and payment status. So if someone's not sure if they're eligible, they can create this account, go in, and it should tell you right away. If you are eligible and are wondering why you didn't get a payment, you can go in and check the payment status. It'll tell you if it was sent, if it was mailed as a check, if it was direct deposit. If your bank account or address changed, you can also use this portal to update that information. That's a pretty important one that we've run into a lot this year. You can also opt out of advance payments, which we'll talk a little more about in a couple slides here. And the IRS is saying that available later this year, you can add a child born in 2021, update your income or your filing status. So they've been pushing this date back a little more each month. We are really hoping that it is available by November, because there are a lot of people that have had kids this year and could really benefit from these payments. But that is something that we're still waiting on. The CTC portal can be a little challenging for some people to use because you do need to verify your identity. You need to create an IRS.gov account or an ID.me account. So some families are a little concerned about getting the advance payments. They think that it might be a better idea for them to opt out, and it's kind of a personal choice for anyone who's eligible. They might want to opt out because their income increased in 2021, or maybe they claimed a child on their 2020 tax return that they won't claim in 2021, or some people just like getting that really big refund at tax time. This is especially for families that think that they might owe money at tax time. Sometimes this can offset the money that they would otherwise owe to the IRS. So you can only opt out of advance payments for all qualifying children right now. This is another update that the IRS has said they will provide later this year. So if you decide to opt out, you can only opt out of advance payments for all of the children, even if it's only one or two that you need to opt out for. For parents who file their taxes together, it gets a little more complicated to opt out. They must each create an account on the portal and each opt out individually. If only one parent opts out, half of the payments will continue to be issued to the other parent. But you can also use this feature to split advance payments between bank accounts if you use your separate CTC portal accounts. One of the complications we've run into pretty often this year, sometimes there are two parents that maybe file together but don't live together, or maybe there's someone who has a child but don't usually claim them because they weren't eligible for this credit before, so someone else has been claiming that child. It's not recommended, but it does happen. And this gets a little complicated. You really have to have a conversation about it. A lot of times what's going to happen is that if someone else won't opt out of the payment so that a different parent can receive it, they will probably have to wait until next year to claim these advance payments on their 2021 tax return. And families are also worried about having to repay advance payments. It's a little unusual for the IRS to issue payments before tax time, so I think there's a little hesitation from some families. And the IRS does occasionally make mistakes, so families could receive the wrong amounts for advance payments, especially if your income increased in 2021 and maybe you've reached that phase-out limit and you should be getting a smaller amount. Maybe your family size changed and you didn't go in and opt out of those payments. So there are some protections in place to protect families from having to repay the full amount of the advance payments. There's full repayment protection for single filers under 40,000, heads of household under, under 50,000. Sorry about that. And married filing jointly under 60,000. So anyone under these income limits, they will not have to repay any of the advance payments if they received it and shouldn't have. There's partial repayment protection for single filers under 80, heads of household under 100,000, married filing jointly under 120,000. So this phases out gradually between the full repayment protection income limits and these partial repayment protection income limits, and you might only have to repay a portion of the advance payments that you received. If your income is over these limits, then there's no repayment protection, and you will have to repay credits that you received erroneously. So some problems that we have run into a lot with receiving the advance payments. Creating an account on the CTC portal has not been as easy as some taxpayers may have hoped. ID.me requires a phone number, email, valid photo ID, and the ability to upload a picture onto their website. Some people that aren't tech savvy have a lot of trouble with this, and I've also tried to help some taxpayers who have different forms of ID like passports, passport cards. Those have not, the registration process for those has not gone smoothly, and it's hard to get help over the phone with ID.me. The other option is to create an irs.gov account. This requires some credit history. So if you have a taxpayer or a family who doesn't have a credit card, doesn't have a loan, doesn't have a mortgage, they actually can't create this irs.gov account because part of how it verifies your identity is by verifying some of your credit history. Technology access is another big one. You can't mail in this application. You have to apply on the internet. And a lot of the, especially the lower income families, these are the ones that might not have regular access to internet. They might be trying to do things on their smartphones, and that's, you know, the IRS has not caught up with that yet. So you have to do it on a PC. So that has been a barrier for a lot of people. And like I mentioned before, these complicated family situations, people will try to do their tax returns or non-filers forms and submit them. They say, I did everything right, but it rejected. It's not letting me put this through. And a lot of times the problem is that somebody else has been claiming this child, and either they had let them in previous years or they didn't know that someone else was claiming the child. So what they'll have to do is file their 2021 tax return. They might have to complete an extra form saying someone else is claiming this child and it should be me. It's kind of a longer process, but they will be able to claim these payments on their next year's tax return. So if there's a family that has had problems receiving the advance payments, this is a point that I have tried to emphasize to anybody that I have talked to. All families have to file a 2021 tax return to claim the other half of the credit. This goes for every family, no matter what their income is, no matter if it's taxable or not. If you get the child tax credit and you want the other half of it, you have to file a tax return next year. And then if you have problems receiving the advance payments, at this point, it's a little late in the game to try and work with the IRS to figure out why and get that resolved. At this point, you'll have to claim your missed payments on your 2021 tax return as well. The IRS did provide a CTC phone line. It is this 800 number here. I can at least say that I have gotten through to people at that phone line, and they can answer general questions. Sometimes they've been helpful for more specific and complicated situations. They may not be able to give you a direct answer, but it is a resource, and sometimes a lot of families just want to talk to someone if they're having problems, and this is a good way to do that. So since it's already October, I don't know about anybody else, but I am already thinking about next tax season. So to prepare for that, families that receive the child tax credit payments, they should expect to receive a letter in January. It will include the total amount of the advanced CTC payments they received in 2021. And then whenever they file their taxes, that's the number that they'll use when that question is asked. And it will determine if they received the correct amount or not. If they didn't, it'll be reconciled on that return. Obviously, you need to keep good records. Like I said, the IRS does occasionally make mistakes. So if you have those records there, you can bring them with you when you do your taxes and reference those, compare them to what the IRS is saying, make sure everything's in place and says what it should. You can also use the CTC portal to access information about your payments if you're unsure of any of them. And again, even if you don't file a return, you still need to file a 2021 tax return. So just get ready to do that. And if anybody asks, just encourage them to schedule an appointment in January and come in and get their taxes done. So I did want to mention, since Just Harvest works a lot to alleviate food insecurity, I did want to mention the difference that this is making for some families. There have been just a couple studies so far because it is relatively new, but it's made a really big difference for a pretty significant population in the US. This one was done, I think, on August, it went up to August 16th, so there had been 2 advance payments issued by then. Food insecurity decreased for 3.3 million adults with children after the first advance payment was issued. It should actually be the first 2 advance payments. Sorry about that. And specifically, it seems to be maybe most significant for Black adults with children and Latino adults with children. So minority families are especially feeling the benefits of these payments. And, it benefits everybody, but it seems to be kind of more significant in those populations. So right now, this credit is only for 2021. We are, there is some advocacy being done to try and continue this expansion of the child tax credit because it seems to be a really great tool to pull some families out of poverty and give children what they need to succeed. So since we're talking about next tax season as well, some options for families to get in-person and virtual tax help. Here at Just Harvest, we have a volunteer income tax assistance site. These are available all over the country. It's not just in Pittsburgh. There's a pretty large one in Philadelphia and a few more throughout the state and everywhere else. So these are IRS certified sites. They offer free tax preparation, and they aim to help specifically low-income families. Income limits are typically under $58,000. It used to only be in person mostly, and then of course over the past couple of years there's been a big push to start some virtual tax prep, and we have done a pretty great job of accommodating that, and that's available pretty widely now. Appointments are made from January to April. If you'd like to find a local site, or if you know someone that could benefit from this, you can search on the IRS website or call that number to find a local one. I will say wait until January to start searching because nothing's going to show up right now. Most sites are closed. But come tax season, that can be a pretty good resource. If you want to get your taxes done virtually, there is a website called getyourrefund.org. It is to assist VITA sites in offering virtual tax prep. And you go to the website, it asks for your information, and then redirects you to a site that's kind of local to you. And then it's a 100% virtual process. You have a little bit of a higher income limit at $66,000, and they try to offer tax prep a little longer throughout the year. So they operate between January and October. And that is a lot of information, and that is everything that I had for now. I put my contact information here. I have some for providers, some for clients. We have a provider resources folder that has some outreach flyers. This training will be in it, and as well as a few other trainings. And then we also have an FAQ page on our website. So I think that's it for now. Thank you guys so much for listening. And I think we can see if there are any questions right now.
Yes, thank you so much, Elena. I was going to ask if there are questions, can you please type them in the chat box right now? And we'll give people a couple minutes here to see if they have any questions, or but that was fantastic information. Thank you so much.
Sure. And I see one came up pretty quickly here. There was one.
How come I'm not seeing them?
Oh, I think it went to organizers, so I think maybe that's why.
Maybe.
But it says that someone was told not to accept the monthly payments because they will be considered taxable income. This is not true. This is a tax credit. Tax credits are not considered taxable income. It's kind of similar to what you would receive, like earned income tax credit as part of your refund later. You don't include your refund as part of your taxable income. And these payments will also not be part of that.
Great question.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Oh, there we go. Do you see that one, Alina?
Mm-hmm. I do. So I guess my first question would be, have you received your refund yet, or have you done an amended return? If your return is not processed yet, then it may say that your eligibility is still pending and hasn't been determined. I know it's October, but the IRS has been really behind in processing returns this year. So there are some people that still haven't received that. Brandy, if you would like to reach out to me directly after this and we can talk it over. Okay. So that seems like an error on the IRS's part, unfortunately. I would try the CTC phone line, that 800 number that I had up before. Let me go back a few slides. There he is. So this 800 number here, you can try them. They might be able to give you a little bit more information. But that one, there have been a few things that we haven't been able to resolve right away, and you may have to wait until next year to claim all of those payments. On the bright side, you will be getting a pretty big chunk of change, I think, for your refund. But give them a call and hopefully they'll be able to help you out.
And then someone asked if the EITC is the same as the child tax credit. So I'll let you field that, but.
Let's see, earned income credit. So actually these are, there are 3 separate credits. There's the earned income tax credit, and that is based on your earned income for that year. There is the child tax credit, which is only depends on the amount of dependents that you have and that you claim on your tax return. And then there's a child and dependent care credit as well. That is a separate credit on your tax return. It uses amounts that you paid for child or dependent care throughout the year. That has also expanded with the American Rescue Plan Act, but I don't want to give any specifics about it now because I would want to check my facts on that first. But those are 3 separate credits. So.
Okay, anything else from anyone?
I see one here. It is not too late to opt out of child tax credits. You can still go into the portal and you can still opt out of them. There's time for that.
But if you're married, you have to both do it, correct?
Right, that is correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. That's been a question we've been getting at Banking and Securities for a while now.
Mm-hmm. Sure. I know it was on that last slide too, but I'm going to put my contact information over here in the chat. Might be a little easier to copy and paste that way if anybody has specific questions. I'm happy to talk those over with you. I know it's kind of difficult to ask here sometimes because these are really individualized answers, and it really depends on your personal family situation and your income. So feel free to reach out to me, and we can talk anything else over.
Yeah, and tax questions are always fun because they do vary by everyone's situation, and we specifically can't give advice, or at least not the Department of Banking and Security or Treasury. So, but yes, thank you for sharing your contact information, Elena.
Oh, sure, sure. Okay.
All right, anyone else today? If not, we will thank you all for joining us, and we will say hopefully see you in November if you have FAFSA aged kids, or in December for cybersecurity, the holiday edition. And again, if you need to reach me, I'm at Banking and Securities bmcdicken@pa.gov. So I guess I could put that in there too. But and check out OA's financial wellness page as well. So thank you again, Elena, for your time today. We really appreciate it. And everybody have a great rest of your day.
Sure. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for being here.
What happened to my mouse? Okay, you could probably stop recording.
Right. I know it's kind of lingering to see, make sure